so much for the warm introduction, and Artie and Vivek and the entire QuestionPro crew. Thank you so much for having me today. I am literally the only barrier between everyone in this room getting some food and a cocktail. So I promise I'm going to try and make it interesting. Today I'm going to talk about leadership lessons for your life, your workplace, and your future. And so if you read my book or you just have it, when you go on the plane on the way home, it's meant to be read on a 2 to 2.5 hour plane ride. Super quick, super fast, super netted out. Walk off the plane and have some key strategies to help you in your life. So I thought I would begin with a playground. Think about all of us when we were young kids. And a lot of us, because we're leaders, we thought growing up, I want to be a leader. I thought I can really do this. And as a child, I felt that same way. So before we get into the presentation today, I want to take you through just a brief guided meditation. So I want you to all close your eyes. Close that. All right. Think about a leader that you admire. Picture them in your head. What are the qualities that you see? Visionary, strategic, empathetic, caring, numbers-driven, people-driven, data-oriented. Can you see that person super clearly? All right, open your eyes. Who wants to tell me? Who did you see? Did someone say Oprah? Yes! Oprah. Okay, we have Oprah. Anyone else? The vice president of your organization. Love that. Someone to look up to. All right. Well, I'm going to show you mine. Tricked you, didn't I? Did any of you picture yourself when you thought about leadership and the person you admire? Did anybody in this room actually say, actually, I'm that person? Who did? Yes. Who are you? Hi, Stephanie. You know, when I picture a leader, I picture her, and thank you, Stephanie, for me not being the only one who pictures myself, but I picture myself. And so over the next 15 minutes, I'm going to talk about the leadership traits that I think you all have inside you, but how do we harness them and make ourselves so much better to know that any situation that we are walking into, A, we own the room, and B, we own the outcome. But first, I'm going to start with a little story on my family. Look at how cute I am. Can you just pick? Can you guys figure out which one's me? Blue dress, pink. Blue, yes, I look the same. Yes, that's me. But first, let me start with a little story about my parents. So my parents had an arranged marriage in India, and they emigrated to Canada and then to the United States with a whopping $40 in their pocket. And so both my sister and I, our entire lives, we watched my parents work hard. We watched them work hard, work harder, and work even harder. My dad, who was an engineer, ended up being a vice president of manufacturing at Xerox, living in China, and I used to watch him walk the floor of the plant. And every single person would stop him, and he would know every single one of them. He would know what drove them. He would know about their families. I watched him one time say, hey, I heard I knew your father-in-law was in town. Did he have a good visit? Did you bring him to the plant? And as a child, I'm watching him with hundreds and hundreds of people and knowing every single one of them. My mother was a teacher in India. And so when she came to this country, her background, the Teachers Union of New York said, well, you have to go and get your master's. So my mother worked at BOCES full time, and she went to get her master's at night. In the meantime, she was carting my sister and I around to cheerleading practices, to piano, to field hockey, to the swim team. And I literally watched both of my parents, and I have no idea how they were able to manage it all. But there was one thing that I learned from my parents, and they had one of the things that really blocked a lot of their forward progress was you came from somewhere else. You have an accent. And I watched them break through those barriers. And growing up, my sister and I truly felt that we could do anything that we set our mind to. And then the reality of the world set in. But there's main lessons that they taught us, which was work hard, work harder, and achieve. And I truly believe that my sister and I did that. And the lessons that they gave us helped us do that. But after building up through my career and I was growing, killing it, like on my way, the universe said, hold my martini. At the age of 33, I was in a devastating car accident. And so I actually thought I was okay. There was not a scratch on me. I was on my way to 9 meetings. I was getting on the plane. I was actually checking my bags. Who does that anymore? And I walked to the gate and I called my husband and I said, I can't feel my arms and my legs anymore. And so my husband rushed into the airport, somehow was able to get through security to come and get me, wheelchaired me through to the hospital, and I ended up with 2 fractured vertebrae in my back, fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis at the age of 33. And so I went to not 1, not 2, not 3, 10 major institutions, both in Chicago and at the Mayo Clinic, and every single doctor told me this: Puja, you are going to have to put your dreams of your career away. It is time for you to take a work from home job. This is your new life, and this is how your life's going to be. And I remember I looked at my husband. We had just gotten married 6 months prior. I looked at my husband and I said, well, I can't brush my teeth by myself. I can't get dressed by myself. I can't go to work. So I think we should annul our marriage. And he looked at me and he said, for those of you that know my husband, a lot of people in this room actually do know my husband. And for those of you that know my husband goes, but wait, it's for better or worse. We're in it together. And we were, thank God. But at that time, at the age of 33, I thought my life and my career was over. And when we think about our lives, there is not one person in this room who has been taken over by the dark night of the soul. Every single one of us, we've had to worry about our parents, our children, our career, our finances, all of the things that keep us awake at night and get us to worry and worry and worry. And so when that news came to me after doctor number 10, I did actually the thing that I always do. I went in my closet and cried. Yep, I went in my closet and cried. Every single one of us has a safe space where we can go and we can cry. And there I was in my closet crying my eyes out because this was really bad. This was me having to figure out, what is it that I am going to do with the rest of my life? Am I going to sit in my house on medicine and not work, or am I going to have to figure it out? So I have a rule. My rule is 24 hours. And this was a really, really bad situation. So I gave myself 26 hours. And so I sat in my closet for 26 hours in my pajamas and cried and cried and cried. And I finally said to myself, you are going to have to figure this out. And I did. I will tell you, I did my injury spectacularly. I went in a neck brace and a cane and sometimes in a wheelchair to visit our customers. And I sold more and I sold more and I sold more. And finally, one of my leaders said to me, well, why aren't you going to be a leader? I'm like, who wants a leader who can't even walk straight? And thankfully, my company said, we do. And so began my journey into leadership. And along the way, I had to make some very hard decisions in our life. I was 33. Think about yourself when you were 33. Some of you are 33 in this room. You want to go work hard and you want to play hard. Well, guess what? I had choices to make, and really, really tough choices to make. I could either have a social life and have all the amazing connections that you need at that age to grow and to learn and to become better at what you're doing, or I can have the career of my dreams, and I chose the career of my dreams. And so my husband and I really became super insulated and super focused on what it was that we were trying to do. And for those of you that don't know my background, I started my career at Xerox. I spent 7 years there. My accident happened while I was at Career Builder, a company that I will love to this day. A lot of us in this room are products of that company. I was there for 13 years. I worked my way up from a sales rep all the way to SVP of sales. I then moved on to Frame.io as a chief revenue officer. We sold to Adobe 2 years ago for $1.3 billion. I am still the CRO of Frame, an Adobe company. And I will tell you, it was the focus and the formula that my husband and I put together that led to that success. accidents and all. Because at the end of the day, think about our lives right now. There's 2 wars happening. There's a mass shooting in Maine. We have outside influences really taking up a lot of our emotional and our mental space. And then we have our work. And then we have our family. And then we have our drive. And then we have our ambition. And then we have all the things that can potentially stand in the way. And I will stand here and tell you, you absolutely cannot lead from a hamster wheel. And when I watch leaders succeed and I've watched leaders fail, and the leaders that win are the ones that get themselves off the hamster wheel. So I am going to walk you through how my husband and I, my teams and I, got ourselves off of the hamster wheel. And here is my formula. Isn't it gorgeous? All right, it's a house. It's a house. I believe that everything should be built up with a foundation, and then there's pillars that get us to my goal, which is revenue growth. The foundation of the house is your people. When you think about companies change, what we're selling changes, who we're going to market with changes, but at the end of the day, what really, really matters are your people. So let me tell you a story. This story is about the Bad News Bears. So as the first team I led, I was with my cane and my neck brace, and one of my managers at my company said, "Okay, Puja, you're taking over the worst team in the country." I'm like, "Oh, great. What is it? Is it like how up like all my illnesses? Like, does that help us like feel like we're going to be better?" And he's like, "No, you're taking over team 28 of 28." And I was like, "Oh, so I'm now 28 of 28." And he's like, "Yes, you are." And so I was like, "Awesome. I'm so excited." So I sit down and I have one-on-ones with every single one of my team. And you know, when you're a new leader, and I think a lot of us still do this to this day, we really believe in people sometimes more than they believe in themselves. We can all agree with that, right? But we have a hard time making those tough decisions. And when I talk about people being the foundation of everything that we do, I had this guy on my team, his name was Justin. I thought, the minute I met Justin, I was like, "Oh, no, Justin. You cannot be on this team." But new leader, right? I was like, "Oh no, I can turn him. I can make him better. I can make him the absolute best salesperson that anyone has ever seen." So for the first 2 months, Justin was doing absolutely amazing. He was killing it. He got rep of the month. And I'm like, "Look at me. I'm great. I am great at this leadership thing." And so Justin was flying high, but I had 7 other members of my team. And I didn't see what Justin was doing on our sales floor. Justin was not doing our activity requirements, was completely negative, and was literally distracting my entire team. And so 6 months passed before I made the decision that Justin was not the right fit for my team and was probably not the right fit for the company. But what happened in those 6 months is I lost the rest of my team. And so when we think about people as a foundation of our team, we have to think about the people that are on our team. Are those the ones that are going to take us to the promised land? Or are we sitting here not making the tough decisions to ensure that the rest of all the team is functioning appropriately and there's not one weak leg or one cancer? And so when you think about the teams that you're leading today, I guarantee you, every single one of you has someone like that on your team. And I would ask you, with people being the foundation of the entire formula, to make those decisions and make them super quickly. We talked a lot about data here today, yeah? Are we dated out? Are we dated out? I'm never dated out. Data has always been a really key indicator for me to understand what success is and what it isn't going to be. But here's what I typically hear about data in a company. 1, my data is so bad I can't really trust it. 2, we don't have enough data. 3, we have too much data, I don't know what to do with it. Here's my answer to all of that. Tough. Garbanzo beans. You have to figure out the data that you need in order to get your team to succeed, in order to get your people to succeed. Here are mine, right? I'm a revenue leader. Here's what I care about. I care about new logos sold, net dollar retention, renewal and expansion rates, and finally, are we profitable or not? Are we or aren't we? And whether you are a revenue leader, whether you are a product leader, whether you are in HR, there are 4 key factors typically for every single one of you that are the keys to your success. That is the data that you have to consistently look at, manage, and adjust your strategy as needed. When I also look at data, there's some key pieces to my pie, right? Like, who is my ideal customer profile? Who am I selling to? How many customers are we acquiring on a daily basis? What are the key industries we're selling into? What are some of the key industries that we want to get into that we haven't tapped yet? What is the data telling me about that? Who are my buyers? Am I going to create a strategy to expand internationally? I don't know. What does the data tell me? Right? So if you're not using data to actually make key decisions for you, your team, your organization, you're kind of missing the boat. The next is competition. Look, when you're a revenue leader, like my girl over there, when you're a revenue leader, like, we are all super competitive. So when I came to Frame as the chief revenue officer, the first thing, of course, I wanted to know is, who are we competing with? So, sidebar, I'm a Post-it addict. Okay, these are all my Post-its. I have lots of pictures of walls and walls and walls and walls of Post-its. It's an issue. But when I came to Frame, I went to the 50 people in my organization. I had one-on-ones with every single one of them, and I had one question. Who is our competition? And I got 50 answers. 50 answers about who our competition is. And I was like, okay, this is a disaster. Like, we cannot compete with 50 people at one time. And so I said, okay, great. Here's what we looked at all of the 50. We said, okay, marketing, our buddies, go do some research on this. I really want to understand how we're going to combat them. And I want combat papers on them, because really what I want to do is I want to crush competitor A. We're only competing with 3, our top 3. I want to crush competitor B, and I want to crush competitor C. And that's what we did. If you ask anyone in your organization, who are your competitors, you're going to get 50 names, but you have to narrow it down. And you can only focus on 3 at a time. You have to have battle cards, and you have to be ready to really leave it all on the field when they go. And finally, addressable market. The addressable market is the total market that you could potentially serve. And your question is, how much of that market do you actually want to tap into? At Frame, we are a video and collaboration software. So I'm like, great, like, we can go capture XYZ of the video market. The video market is like $100 billion, right? You think about Netflix, Amazon, all the others, Marvel, Disney. It's a $100 billion market. We can't go tap all of that. So we decided we wanted 0.01% of the pie. We knew 0.01% of the pie would take us from $19 million in year 1 to $130 million in year 3, which is exactly what we did. That addressable market let us hone in on who we were going to target, how we were going to target it, and what percentage that we wanted. So finding the breaks in the machine is the final step. How many of you in this room, in the roles that you're in as leaders, believe that there are breaks in your current system? I mean, y'all better raise your hand. Because as good as we're doing, every single one of us has breaks in the machine. And so I'm kind of psycho about the breaks in the machine. Every time I lay out a new strategy, I say, I want to know what's happening within 30 days. How many of you look and reevaluate what you and your teams and your business is doing on a 30-day incremental period? Okay, like 4 of you. Awesome. Congrats. The rest of you, why not? 30 days, once you institute a strategy of how you're going to go to market and how you're going to sell or what product you're going to take out there, 30 days gives you a lot of data. 30 days can tell you if something's working or it's not. Why are you going to wait 90? Why are you going to wait half a year? Why are you going to wait till Q4, which most of us are in right now, and it's so stressful and all of us are sweating about it? But why are you going to wait until Q4 to figure out that you're not going to hit your number? Right? You have to find the breaks in the machine early on, and 30 days is a very, very, very smart way to start evaluating what you're doing. You can also identify individual trends with your customers, individual trends with your people. Some of your people might have been super engaged in the beginning, and all of a sudden they're like, I don't like this strategy, girl. I'm not doing that shit. I'm just not. And I'm just like, okay, well, are you then my person to take us to the next level? I should know that 30 days in. to laying anything out. And so should you. Because if you don't, 1 month is going to go by, 3 months are going to go by, a year is going to go by, and you're going to be like, why are we still in the same place? Right? So 30 days to find breaks in the machine and understanding individual trends, both from a market perspective and from a people perspective. Not everyone that's with you is going to be bought into your new thing, right? But you should know that up front, because if you don't, your ability to crush whatever it is that you're looking to crush has gone to the wayside. So I will tell you that this formula is something that my husband and I have used in our life for the last 20 years. So I wanted to give you a real life example. How many of you feel like you're super healthy? Oh, good. Yeah, 4 of you. Awesome. I think there's like 170 people here. 4 of you feel like you're super healthy. Okay, so this is a formula that my husband and I applied. We applied the same 4-pillar formula to our life, all right? And our goal was to get healthy. We moved from Chicago to Miami. For any of you that have been in Miami or live in Miami, you know the whole city's goddamn healthy, okay? And in come my husband, and I'm like, oh, no. So we decided that we needed to really get healthy, and we gave ourselves a year to do it. And so the first step we said was, what is our foundation, right? What is the foundation of what we're doing? We wrote it down on a piece of paper. And he was my walking buddy. How many of you see, like on January 1st, everyone's at the gym, everyone's running in the neighborhood, but by February 1st, ain't nobody there? Where'd y'all go? Like, what happened? So my husband and I, we wrote down it and we said, okay, you're going to be my accountability partner. And for any of you that know my husband, he's this like big, like super muscly guy. He's the worst, most miserable accountability partner you will ever meet in your life. So, but he was my foundation. All right. So that was step 1. That was our foundation, is finding out what we were going to do. The second was we had to understand our trends. Hey, Puja, when do you eat all those fruit snacks? Like at what time, when do you eat them? Oh, Puja eats fruit snacks at the end of the quarter. Puja doesn't eat really any normal food for the last week in the quarter. Puja eats a lot of chocolate. Puja wakes up and wants a donut. My favorite, by the way. Puja wakes up and wants a donut. So we knew at the end of the quarter, we were going to have the healthiest of healthiest of healthiest of healthiest snacks right in front of me at all times. And anything chocolate, donut, Uber Eats got deleted from our phone. So did DoorDash. Those had to go to the wayside. Otherwise, we were never going to achieve our goals because we understood our trends. You know, we know holidays, right? I mean, does anyone watch the Food Network? There's every baking show known to man. How can you not want to bake or have a cookie? So we decided we can't watch those shows anymore. It was really upsetting, but we knew our trends. And so when you think about what you want to accomplish in your life, for us, it was getting healthy. We had to know our trends. Finally, we had to do more of the right activities. Now, I am a morning person. My husband is not a morning person. So I am a morning person. And so I had to figure out that in the morning, instead of like chain smoking cigarettes and drinking my coffee and looking at the numbers like a complete psycho every morning, I actually had to say, you know what, Puja, you can't do that activity right now. Your activity is going to be, you are not smoking cigarettes, you are not having a coffee, you're putting on your gym shoes and you're going for a walk. And that took a lot of time to get that into practice. I was dying to look at HubSpot and my numbers. I was dying to have a cigarette. I was dying to have a cup of coffee, but I knew that the activities that I was doing currently were never going to lead me to a healthy lifestyle. So, and finally, know your weaknesses. I love pizza. You know, for those of, we're hybrid. I think a lot of us are hybrid now, but for those of us that are in the office, it's so much easier to grab a piece of pizza than it is to bring a salad made from home. Like no one wants to do that. And so part of our formula, same thing when we talk about business, is knowing our weaknesses, right? Knowing your people weaknesses. And for us, it was like, I'm like a carb loader. You know, I love carbs. Like I could eat carbs all day, every day. And so my husband, he was responsible for the fridge, my accountability partner. He was responsible for the fridge. And so he said, you know what, Puja, there's no carbs in the fridge. Here's some carrots and hummus. And I was like, I don't want that. And he's like, well, we know what your weakness is. So we applied that 4-pillar formula, not only to business, we actually applied it to our life. And when you read my book, and I really hope you do, and I'd be so grateful if you do, when you read my book, I really hope you look for that. You're going to see a lot of stories of our life. My husband and I, early in our careers, we had $3. A whopping $3 in our pocket. We were laying in Humboldt Park, for those of you that know Chicago, in Humboldt Park with no blanket, no nothing, with $3 to our name. And we decided that we were going to change our life. And this was a formula that we used. So we've used it both in our life and in business. And when I think about that little girl, and I look at her now, the girl that really wanted to be a leader, the girl that was dropped to her knees by a dark soul of the night, the girl that stood up, that is the reason why I chose to write this book. So I will tell you this, when you look at anything that's standing in your way, please follow the formula in the book. Please let yourself tell yourself every single day that you can. You can. You can. You can. Now let's all get it together. Thank you.